Now, I would like to ask the remaining two questions to Dr. Kokula Krishna. Number one for you, the question number one, do you think the information and knowledge society are making impact in capacity building? And question number two, how do you see the future comparing to the past? The floor is to you.
Thank you, Dr. Asan. It was fantastic learning from the other panelists, and like from the beginning of the business. And first I would like to thank the ITU for facilitating this business online. So again, like we are quite delighted to have business even during this pandemic. I know how difficult it is to organize this spectacular event, which I've been in both in physical as well as in the virtual modes also. So like speaking about all these things, like we have been seeing how this pandemic has changed the motion, like from the physical classes to the to the virtual classes. So I remember the days, like the previous days, like where once when I say like, okay, it's going to be a video call, or it's going to be like and it's not like not an in-person meeting, the people used to say like, okay, the so-called person is going to be in virtual or an augmented reality or something of that sort, like which is not of the real world actually. So but this pandemic has taught very clearly that like even like the virtual environment and this type of the communication modes have very clearly facilitated, and we have very good connectivity across the world these days, and that is very well facilitating all this learning new technologies, new things, and even the classrooms are being facilitated these days. So see, like for example, like ASDF was like doing like lots of research events. So like we have around some 300 to 350 events a year across, and like we used to be having like different chapters hosting it. So now everything has become online, and like I'm gaining knowledge from in the different fields. I'm not limiting myself to the international relations or to the computer science and technology. So I'm just learning now something on like say like on medicine, something on biology, on something like I'm just getting a lot of knowledge these days because of this type of the capacity building through the knowledge societies. Addressing to your second question, Dr. Asan, like seeing the the future comparing to the past, there has been a drastic change, as the previous panelist was also mentioning about, like the learning mechanism of medicine. Like it was like 75 years and 50 years, and then it got reduced now to 72 hours. So in the same way, like I'm thinking like in my perspective, like the world is transforming now, and the transformation has been ignited by this the ignited knowingly or unknowingly by this pandemic which we have recently faced. And like in the past, I'm in the future, I'm thinking like everything will be going virtual enough. There will be like instead of spending too much of money on the infrastructure, too much money on the like say like the buildings and other things, like so everything is going to go online, and so we are getting a comfortness over there. And this comfortness has become an addiction for the people. For example, in our office, like once when we said like, okay, yes, now all the lockdowns are over, so you have to come to the office, like the people are not interested to come to the office because they're quite used for this type of online environment. And this has given them an much more strengthening comfort, and this has given a lot of time to spend with their family, which is more important for work life balance. Thank you, Dr. Hasan. Any further questions?
Okay. Yes, thank you, Dr. Kokula. Just if I can just ask one more question for me. Now, the general comment, this e-learning, about e-learning is that it has a negative impact on understanding of a subject, because we don't face the teacher, the student just looking at the screen, they don't take note. So, I mean, what is your view on this?
That's a very fantastic question, Dr. Asan. Like, we have been facing this type of, issues on day-to-day basis. Say like, like we are seeing lots of innovation happening in the Zoom itself. For example, like, they are keeping an, video motion saying like, just to put your heads knocked down, and, and they are recording the videos, and, they are sharing the notes among the friends in the WhatsApp groups and other things. So what I'm thinking here at this point is like, see, every day we are innovating ourselves. And like we have been in an environment where we were learning to use in computer science, computers, like like I remember like the days like 2-3 decades before, I used to be seeing a computer like, oh wow, this is a very big machine. But these days the kids and the generation which is we call it as the the 2000 millennial kids, they are born with the computers and they're born with the mobile phones and they're born with the technology. Like there is a gap between us and as well as the millennial kids. So we have to understand that, and we have to go in line with them in order to have a betterment of the betterment and the reachability of our contents to the kids.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Dr.